was $1,083 for 2 tickets.
The market is the market. The prices are the prices.
Going to a concert has become an accomplishment.
Is 1 second, you don't have any extra time.
Tickets are more expensive than ever and seemingly harder to get.
I do know there's probably stuff out there that a retail fan has no shot at getting.
We've spent the last year trying to understand how this happened.
Ticketmaster is kind of the fall guy in this.
Talking to artists.
Here's an example of like a deal memo.
Scalpers.
He made over $34,000 in 1 month.
And executives.
Is Ticketmaster a monopoly?
At the companies controlling concert ticketing.
Why does StubHub deserve the biggest share of that woman's purchase?
This is the story of how the industry got here and how it might soon change.
We can get those Sundays. Hold off on Saturdays still though, okay?
On a Friday night in LA, the emo rock band Something Corporate is playing a reunion show at the Hollywood Palladium.
Hi, how are you?
Fans have been paying about $70 for tickets to the tour.
When I woke up in New York City from my sleep behind the wheel.
But where exactly do those $70 go? Something Corporate frontman Andrew McMahon agreed to share those usually secret details for a show.
Here's an example of like a deal memo.
His team just blacked out exactly what show it was.
What do we have here?
To start, the band set a ticket price of $56.
There's a gross potential of a couple $100,000 being made.
But out of that $200,000 in ticket sales, half is deducted for venue-related show costs.
$37,000 in stagehands.
Leaving the band with a $100,000 payday. But most of that goes to the band's own expenses.
Commissions and fees and payroll.
Their management takes a quarter. Travel and crew costs take another quarter. Meanwhile, that $56 ticket has had fees added, though artists don't get that money. So once you take away the venue show costs and the band's touring expenses, Something Corporate's actual profit from that $70 ticket is about $10.
And then we split that 5 ways.
Yeah.
McMahon isn't complaining. That's still $7,000 each for a night's work.
We love you, Los Angeles. Thank you for a beautiful night.
But the point here is each dollar fans pay
To enjoy the show.
is fought over by artists, venues, ticket companies, and scalpers. And time and again, the industry's solution to these fights has been to just charge fans a bit more.
Tickets go for so high now.
Consider the history of the infamous ticket fee. In the 80s, as artists demanded a bigger cut of the box office, venues scrambled for new revenue. Ticket fees, which cut out the artist, were the answer, says New York Times music writer Ben Cesario.
There was a guy named Fred Rosen who became the CEO of Ticketmaster, and he's the person who really created the modern ticketing business as we know it.
You know, it was Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come, and they did.
What Rosen built was a network of ticket outlets and phone centers that made it easy for fans to buy. That was new.
Seats 18 to 20.
But for that convenience,
There's a convenience charge of $120.
they were charged higher and higher fees.
Handling charge, just to touch it, they charge you $3.
Fans complained, but venues signed on because, and this was the key part, Ticketmaster let those venues keep most of the fee.
Yeah, Ticketmaster is kind of the fall guy in this. It's set up for that purpose. Fred Rosen, he used to say that his client is not the consumer, it's the venue. He's there to take the heat for that venue.
In exchange for taking that heat, Ticketmaster won control, the exclusive right to sell all the tickets. In the 90s, Pearl Jam tried to escape this system, even taking their case to Congress.
The issue at hand here is whether Ticketmaster is a monopoly.
But that failed, and venues and other artists stuck with Ticketmaster.
In the UK and in Europe, they have a different ticketing system. And it's usually not these exclusive contracts. The cost of a ticket and the cost of a fee overseas tends to be a lot lower than in the US. But artists like touring in the US because they make more money here.
Today, the concert scene is shaped by the combined power of Ticketmaster and Live Nation, the event company. They merged in 2010, and now some venues say Ticketmaster isn't helping them out, but specifically supporting Live Nation, which owns their own venues and promotes their own artists.
We can't compete.
Stephen Parker, executive director of the National Independent Venue Association, says Live Nation uses its power across the industry to strangle competition.
Basically making it so that artists have to play every single date at Live Nation venues or Live Nation operated venues or Live Nation partner venues.
Last May, the Department of Justice made a similar claim.
It is time to break it up,
saying Live Nation and Ticketmaster illegally use their power to push down competition and push up ticket prices.
Is Ticketmaster a monopoly?
Well, obviously, there's a claim that we are.
Dan Wall is the antitrust lawyer who helped get the Ticketmaster Live Nation merger approved in the first place. He calls the DOJ's case a performative lawsuit that would have no impact on ticket prices.
The Justice Department is trying to break you up. You have senators on both sides of the aisle saying you're a monopoly.
Yeah.
There was a poll that said 60% of Americans think the two companies should be broken up. Why are they all wrong about this?
We are obviously the leading company in this industry. There's no doubt about that. And I think that creates a certain amount of jealousy. I think it creates a certain amount of rivalry, a certain amount of fear. But we stand by what we do. It is the one ticketing company in this country that is 100% on the side of the artist and the fan, not run for the benefit of ticket brokers and ticket scalpers and big resale prices and big resale fees.
Anyone have a good queue?
The real problem with ticketing, Wall says,
we can get those Sundays. Hold off on Saturdays still though, okay?
Is caused by scalpers.
I mean, I do know there's probably stuff out there that a retail fan has no shot at getting.
How are we doing?
All Things Go is a 2-day music festival at the Merriweather Post Pavilion in Maryland.
So just concert tickets, what do you think?
They're hard to get.
Last summer, Leve, Renee Rapp, and Hosier topped the bill.
It's sold out so fast.
Like so many on sales these days,
Is 1 second, you don't have any extra time.
buying tickets was a kind of competition.
I was clicking on the website and it was all sold out. So then I started Googling resale tickets for All Things Go.
The All Things Go ticket sale that froze out Melissa Santos had happened 5 months before.
Yeah, so All Things.
On an April morning we spent with Aaron Farah in a Georgia office park as he tried to get those very same tickets.
It's like the festival. It's in Maryland.
Farah used to be a teacher, but has been buying and selling tickets since 2008. When a poker buddy,
He was a pretty big hustler.
suggested scooping up seats to a Jonas Brothers show.
I think I made like $300 or $400, and it was that thing came on my phone. I was hooked.
His operation remained tiny. He was still teaching.
Scraping by.
Until, desperate for enough cash to score super lucrative tickets,
It was Van Morrison in Clearwater, Florida.
he reached out to an acquaintance with deeper pockets.
So I called Kevin up. I was like, I need $2,000 to get these. And he didn't even blink. He's like, sure.
And I was like, who was it? He said, Van Morrison. I was like, never heard of him. And he laughed. He's like, yes, you have.
What Kevin McCurley lacked in musical knowledge, he made up for in business ambition.
$9,500 in profit.
Not just starting their own ticket company called Elite,
Hey, it's Kevin with Smart Scalpers.
but packaging their ticket techniques and franchising them to new brokers.
Usher, we sold 105 tickets.
Like this broker, just last month, he made over $34,000 in 1 month.
Made like
Profit, yeah.
I've learned a lot of stuff about the ticket business.
Sean Van Gelder, a full-time firefighter, started working with Elite part-time 3 years ago.
My biggest win is probably Taylor Swift.
You got Taylor.
Yes, I did.
How many did you get?
I had 4.
Those 7th-row floor seats to Swift's Miami show netted Van Gelder $10,000.
My daughters were very upset because they weren't going. So unfortunately, I chose money over daughters.
The market is the market. The prices are the prices.
But the right to sell at those prices goes only to those who manage to snag tickets. Every day, ordinary fans like Melissa Santos are pitted against pros like Elite.
If you have those Sundays, we'll get those Sundays.
Some of what Elite does is useful for any ticket buyer to copy.
There you go. There's the code.
Do your best to access a pre-sale through your credit card or a fan club sign-up. The public on sale, often on Friday, is often too late.
Do you bother buying on Friday?
Very rarely. I mean, won't even waste our time.
If the on sale starts at 10, get logged in well before.
But let me hop on.
And don't just click the first Google search result for a show. That usually takes you to expensive resale tickets, even if tickets aren't even on sale yet. Instead, go to the band or venue's official website, and from there, find the link to the primary on sale.
Anna, let's just get those.
But yes, brokers are also using techniques not available to the general public.
Sunday, yeah. Get those, Anna, please.
Once the sale started, we saw Farah click a web plugin that showed how many seats were still available in each section.
500 tickets left.
Oh, well, that's nifty. You can see the count.
Yep.
Based on that number, he decided whether to buy.
Let's pass on Saturdays, okay?
Because so many were still remaining?
Yeah, just not worth it.
And while Farah and McCurley told us they don't use bots to buy tickets, the definition of a bot is a squishy thing, we had noticed one of their YouTube videos.
Now all these tools are out there.
Touted StubTools and Primo browser.
So that is a multi-session browser?
Which help brokers mask their IP address and log into many Ticketmaster accounts, letting them avoid caps on how many tickets they can buy.
Really, the sky's the limit of the number of tickets you can buy.
The services cost $250 a month and are only available to ticket brokers.
When you use something like StubTools that allows you to have so many sessions, do you think the average fan has a fair shot to get these tickets?
I think so, because they're just trying to buy 2 or 4 tickets.
But that's harder to get when someone else just bought 24.
Not necessarily.
Well, how's that? If someone buys 24, that's 24 fewer than other people can get.
Yeah, but if they want to buy 4 tickets, they can get their spouse, their kid, their parents, so they can also have the same amount of opportunity as we do.
Okay, so people should assemble a team.
It's possible.
At 9:59.
Yes, sure.
Okay, so you think it's fair? You think the current landscape is fair?
I'm not saying it's fair, but I'm not saying it's unfair.
Whether it's legal has also been a bit vague. The 2016 Bots Act makes it illegal to circumvent a security measure used by the ticket issuer to enforce posted event ticket purchasing limits. But the Federal Trade Commission has enforced the act just once, even as brokers seem to violate it daily.
So this is an executive order.
President Trump has now called on the FTC to rigorously enforce the Bots Act, giving them 6 months to make a plan. So far, with the government struggling to carry out the law, stopping brokers has been the job of ticket companies.
So we get to help people get to these magical moments.
Mostly Ticketmaster.
Is it your goal to get tickets in the hands of people who intend to go to the show rather than people who just are buying the ticket to resell it?
Oh, 100%.
Dan Wall is a longtime top lawyer for Ticketmaster.
And what kind of grade would you give yourself on how that's going at the moment?
Well, we're tough graders. You can get it 99.9% right, and you give yourself an F.
But do you think you're anywhere near 99.9% when millions and millions of tickets are being sold by scalpers?
In a large on sale, we regularly knock down and defeat millions of bots. We're in an arms race with the people who are trying to figure out how to intercept these tickets.
We've met people doing this.
I'm sure you have.
And they buy tickets, and then they resell them, and then they buy some more tickets, and they resell them. But their Ticketmaster account doesn't get closed. Why aren't you able to spot the folks doing this and close those accounts?
We spot a lot of them. And honestly, we don't spot them all.
But you feel like you're doing an okay job of this?
This isn't going to be abated until we get to the root cause of this, which is the extraordinary profitability of the resale market.
The biggest resale platform is StubHub, which sold 40 million tickets last year.
So like 5 years ago, what would that have been?
Millions, and now we're in the tens of millions.
We spoke to Chris Miller before he stepped down as StubHub's chief business officer.
When you look at what the secondary market has done, it's sort of democratized access.
Brokers aren't villains, he says, but part of a free market that sites like StubHub have made more efficient, giving everyone an equal chance to buy or sell at transparent prices. When demand is low, fans can get great deals.
All right, this is StubHub.
But yes, StubHub builds that market by partnering with brokers like Elite. StubHub charges brokers lower fees to sell on the site than ordinary fans pay when they sell. And what happens to a ticket when a broker scoops it up? Well, remember Melissa Santos at All Things Go? When she was shut out of face value tickets, she went to StubHub just a couple hours later.
It was $1,083 for 2 tickets.
And paid more than $540 each.
We met a woman sitting on the lawn at All Things Go who paid $540 on StubHub for her $200 face value ticket. So once all the fees and expenses and costs of the show come out of the wash, the artists made about $100, the promoter and the venue made about $70, the broker made $110, and StubHub made $180. Why does StubHub deserve the biggest share of that woman's purchase?
Well, I would first start with saying that All Things Go should be working directly with StubHub to participate in the market dynamics. There's a way to collaborate here that everyone can participate in.
So that the promoters get more of the profit?
The promoter can take a participation, the artist can take a participation. We do this in sports all the time.
What Miller is suggesting is nothing less than the fork in the road ticketing now stands at. StubHub is offering to share their profits from resold tickets with musicians like Andrew McMahon, if StubHub is also allowed to handle the original on sale, the part Ticketmaster now does exclusively. If artists accept scalping, they can get in on the action.
I don't want anything to do with it. I would turn down every check that got sent to me by a StubHub or Vivid Seats or any of these guys, because I think what they're doing is, I think it's disgusting.
McMahon wants to take the other side of that fork in the road and end scalping, which might finally be possible since tickets are digital. McMahon now only allows resale on Ticketmaster's face value exchange. Billie Eilish, Foo Fighters, and Pearl Jam do that too.
We want to make it easy if you decide you need to get rid of your ticket to get rid of it, but you're going to sell it back for the same price you bought it for.
I think it's misguided.
Miller calls face value exchange a power grab that can trap fans with high-priced tickets they aren't allowed to sell for less.
We don't believe that artists can control the pricing in the aftermarket, no.
It's their show. It's not the scalper's show.
Ticketmaster, even though they have their own resale site, told us they support laws to cap resale prices.
There's nothing socially beneficial about scalping. It's just a ripoff, and it's taking that money from the fans.
This may all be decided in Washington. Lawmakers have been trying to pass the Boss and Swift Act, which would actually guarantee the right to sell tickets at any price, which would be a big win for brokers. But Ticketmaster told us the president's executive order could shift how Congress thinks about this and possibly lead to legislation that would go in the other direction and actually cap resale prices.
You know, the breakdown alone was the primer that I think a lot of people have been rolling around in their head. But how would the resale cap work if, in fact, it was voted on?
Yeah, so we've seen this in other countries. It would mean that there's still some type of resale market because a black market is always going to try to make money off this. But what we see in those other countries and what we see in acts that are doing this face value exchange is there's a much smaller resale market and the prices are much lower. Now, it is important to understand what this means. It means that if you don't get a ticket when they go on sale, you're probably not going to that show. So there is a downside. You won't be able to buy your way in. Now, we did go to that Something Corporate show that had face value exchange in LA, and we met this couple from Texas that missed out on getting tickets closer to them, flew to LA, and I said, well, that must be annoying to you. Are you annoyed by this? And they're like, no, we're happy with the system. It's fine. We'd rather have tickets sold this way.
And we saw so many people, obviously, with the Taylor Swift you mentioned in the piece, that went overseas to see because things were less expensive for some of those. So I'm thinking back, the idea of getting the tickets, and you're having this conversation with the broker about, what do I need to do, assemble a team? Like, put your money. Is that, I mean, it does not seem like you have a legit fair chance against these groups in order to get them, even if you assembled the team of your mom, your dad, your six friends.
I mean, one of the things at the core of this is, okay, we can have a free market, but this isn't really a fair or free market right now because you do have a class of people who have decided this is going to be their job, and they have ways to get these tickets that make it really hard for ordinary people to get them if they're just trying to buy tickets once or twice or three times a year.
Even with a team.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I look at the StubHub guy, and you broke it down how they earn far more than even the venue, the artists. I mean, everybody. And I'm thinking, what's the incentive for that individual? Even though he says, yeah, let's change it. What's the incentive for these people who make this exorbitant amount of money?
Why would they want to change? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing that runs through all of this is everyone is operating in their self-interest.
Right.
And so we should say, you know, when Ticketmaster is coming out supporting a price cap on resale, it would be in Ticketmaster's interest to hurt the secondary market, because really what StubHub is doing here, after what some people have seen as a monopoly from Ticketmaster that no one could break, StubHub said, we're going to come at this a different way. We're going to change how people buy tickets. We are going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars marketing, and they say, you know, they need to make their money because they spend a lot getting people to come to StubHub, and create a different way that tickets are sold. And we should say a couple things. StubHub doesn't just do resale. Increasingly, there's these hybrid models where sports teams especially don't really have exactly a primary sale. If you go buy Yankee tickets on StubHub, you're buying a mix of resold tickets from fans from brokers, fans from the Yankees themselves. And so StubHub is pushing for this new model as a way to displace Ticketmaster. So it's not surprising that Ticketmaster's not happy with that model.
It seems like in some of the stuff you're talking about, it comes down to enforcement. And specifically with the Bots Act, why hasn't that been enforced?
Yeah, so we tried to talk to the FTC, and they would not speak to us on the record, but it seems pretty clear that they need help from other law enforcement agencies, probably local law enforcement. The one time the Bots Act was enforced, they did it with local law enforcement. They've not had much success making those partnerships.
Yeah, nobody's admitting this is a monopoly. That's still clear, although it was interesting how you could sit down with these people knowing what a heated issue this is, and they stood their ground.
Yeah. Well, and we thank the brokers for being willing to share what they do, because not everyone would be willing to. They know they're going to get heat for doing this. Perhaps they'll drum up business as well. But, you know, the brokers and StubHub make another point, which is worth getting into, that tickets are not perfectly priced, right? And the brokers serve a pricing function. So some people say, well, why don't the artists just charge more for tickets? And the artists like to say, you know, we don't want to hurt our fans that way with high-priced tickets. And there's truth to that. But it's also true that it's hard to price many arenas across the country in all these different seats. And what happens if you put the prices too high is you play to an empty house. And then the venue's not happy, the artist isn't happy. And so the brokers come in, and sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they buy tickets that there isn't a market for, and the artist gets to sell that ticket, and the venue gets to sell that ticket, and the broker takes the loss. And so the brokers are helping artists and helping venues in many cases. Now, we should say that these brokers told us that on net, they make about 30% profit per ticket. So don't cry for the brokers, but understand that even within the industry, while people complain about the brokers, in some ways the brokers help their bottom line.
Brooke, overall, you on this for a year. When you walk away from it, do you see anything changing anytime soon?
Like so many things in this world, Dana, if there's political will, things can change. So far, the resale industry have been incredibly effective lobbyists. They tried to pass a law in Maryland that would cap resale prices. The lobbyists got in there and watered it down. There were some versions of the Boston Swift Act that would have been tougher on resale. This is a very resale-friendly version of the bill that passed out of the last Senate. So it kind of depends what the public and politicians decide they want to do, and there may be the momentum to say we want to do what other countries have done and say that resale should be curtailed in some way.
I bet fans are like, we want the artists to make more money.
Great
but,
story.
Yeah, no, absolutely fabulous story. Thanks so much.
We'll keep following it because it's not going away.
It's not.
Thank you, guys.